I think that Tarantino is probably one of a handful of filmmakers, along with Scorsese, who uses music, pop music, better than anyone. And yeah, the examples are just too numerous to count. They're in every movie.
Yeah.
Whether it's Stuck in the Middle with You during the ear-cutting scene in Reservoir Dogs. I mean, that one is kind of hard to forget about. You know, and all the old songs that were stuck in his supercomputer mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he got people to write these songs for him. He always uses music that's been around for a long time, and either people forgot about or they just somehow never heard. Like, think about the first time you saw the Pulp Fiction trailer and that Miserlou, that Dick Dale song, which, you know, I'd never heard that song before, but as soon as I heard that, I was like, what the fuck is that? That is a badass guitar riff, like. And it was so exciting, and I still get excited whenever I hear that song, and I associate that song with that movie. That's an interesting thing that he does, is every time he uses one of those music cues, it's so hard to disassociate that music from that point on with his movies. And a perfect example is that guitar music that he used in Kill Bill in the House of Blue Leaves scene when Lucy Liu and her crew, Crazy 88, are walking down the hallway.
I mean, that's incredible.
That single guitar riff. And that's the thing that bothered me so much when Michael Bay used that exact same riff in Transformers when the Camaro comes back, Bumblebee comes back, and he's the brand new Camaro. And he uses that same, you can't reuse a music cue that Tarantino's used because he just impresses on your memory that music cue. And
well, you know, there's some music cues for lazy directors. I don't think that, you know, we might have our own opinion on Michael Bay, but I think he has a good work ethic. I don't think he's lazy necessarily, but
I think that was a very lazy choice. I think that was extraordinary.
No. That's what I'm saying.
Because I don't think people realize where that piece of music comes from a Japanese Kinji Fukusaka's Battles About Humanity. Hey, you laugh at me now, but they come from the Japanese Godfather, you son of a bitches. So
there's that license plate again.
It comes from that. You know, it comes from that. And
look, I'm saying that it's a lazy choice.
It is ignorant. I think when a commercial uses it, it's ignorant. But it actually does come. It's very appropriate for Kill Bill because.
Okay. Before you guys jumped down my throat earlier,
I was
actually
because I have no desire to go down there. I mean, your esophagus does not interest me. So. I'm here all week, folks. All week. Buy me some wine, I'll be your best fucking friend. Okay.
Okay, so I think it was a lazy choice. But there are, with music, there is a tendency to be lazy, and there are songs that spur a recognition that kind of do the work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like the song At Last, the Etta James song, for a certain mood. For Bad to the Bone, the opening guitar riff in Bad to the Bone, and that kind of stuff. Right.
Yeah, those are very lazy choices. And then also, sometimes a movie can use a single artist, and I always find that interesting. It's very rarely done well.
Yeah.
But, of course, you know, like The Graduate used Simon and Garfunkel. And then
Magnolia
used, what's her name?
Amy Mann. But they used I thought, with great success.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, absolutely. When someone uses a single artist.
Lazy, though. Lazy. I think the Remember the Titans soundtrack is the epitome of laziness in the last decade.
Okay.
I'm just going to say, I just threw that out there. I threw that out there because you guys used the term lazy, and I felt, my God, let's throw out the soundtrack that has every cliche on it.
Well, did that use some of those that Jamie's talking about? Like, you know, if it's a romantic moment, you use that Last, or if it's a badass walking out of a bar, you use Bad to the Bone, or, you know, something.
No, but it
uses
a lot of Motown songs in a movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, and I you know, look, hey, that's a cheap shot. I realize it. I know that if we're really worth our salt, we'll get hopefully a lot of hate mail for that comment. But
but that's one of the things. No, I think it's a valid point because it is interesting how one choice can be lazy because it has been used so many times. But then you get a good, like what I'm talking about with Tarantino. A lot of these songs, whether it's Miserlou or you know a band like the 5, 6, 7, 8 from Kill Bill, or some of the great obscure music that he used in Jackie Brown, like Across 110th Street.
Oh, that was incredible. And then there's another one that he uses. There's some obscure track he uses. I don't know the name. It's one of my favorite tracks off the CD, but
Yeah, that's the thing, because when they make movies, it's not like they try lots of songs sometimes. A filmmaker might be filming a scene and saying, "Oh, I love this song." Like for instance, Terry Gilliam's "Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas." Now, the defining song of that book, the song that they touch on in that book over and over again, is "Sympathy for the Devil." But when Terry Gilliam went to make the movie, he tried it with that song, which is a great song, and he loved the song too, but it didn't work because the tempo of the movie starting out of the gate, it's just too rip-roaring, and it's, they're firing across the highway in this machine, and you don't want this slow, meandering Rolling Stone song, so they had to go with Big Brother and the Holding Company song, which has got a little bit more of a driving force to it. So, that's the thing. Like, that Scorsese and Tarantino, they've tried these other songs, and you got to go back and say, no, that's not good. I got to dig a little deeper and find something that works better.
At the same time, I think a lot of the reason why the music in a Scorsese or a Tarantino film works so well is because it's written into the script. I mean, the script is kind of developed. Those scenes are developed around the notion of using that particular song. I mean, he uses a Bowie song in *Inglourious Bastards*, which is totally time inappropriate, but it could catch a mood. And they're generally very, very good at using music that isn't so dead on. Like we've been talking about, obvious. If you look at a movie like Casino, which this 3-hour and 15-minute epic, and it's scored with songs, with popular music, beautifully, as most Scorsese films are. There's one piece of music plays for about 2 seconds that I thought was beneath Scorsese because it was too dead on. And that's when Sharon Stone runs off with James Woods, and Pesci comes over, and they get in his car in the garage so they won't be overheard by surveillance. He turns on the ignition, and "You Can Go Your Own Way" is playing on the stereo. That's the one moment where I thought, oh, maybe that's a little too dead on. But
a little on the nose, yeah.
But "Love Is Strange," all the other great stuff that he came up with Robbie Robertson was just incredible. He's been doing that obviously since Mean Streets.
Yeah. He started it in Mean Streets, and he did it very well in Goodfellas too. That's probably my favorite Scorsese music cue is the Harry Nilsson song "Jump Into the Fire," when everything's sort of coming off the tracks or coming off the rails for Ray Liotta towards the end of the movie, and it's got that incredible drum solo. And that's everybody knows Harry Nilsson. We've all heard "Coconut" and "Without You" and things like that. But "Jump Into the Fire" is one of those 8-minute tracks on a record from the 70s that everybody sort of forgot about. And he brought it back and used it incredibly well because, and again, like the title of the song is "Jump Into the Fire," and that's kind of what Ray Liotta's doing. The title is on the nose, but it's not like the guy is screaming "Jump into the fire" while it's on screen. He's not shoving it down your throat and punching you in the face with it. He's just using it in the background with those drums to make you feel a little offbeat. I feel like I'm on coke every time I watch that scene because it's so intense and so haywire.
Yeah, amazing use of music, and also he has a tendency, like he uses classical or operettas to score some of his movies too. Scorsese does, even though he'll use a composer for something like The Aviator or something. He goes to Howard Shore quite a bit, but and that's similar in tone to what Kubrick used to do. Kubrick used to always go to the classical over an original composition. Okay.
I want to go back to Kill Bill, actually. Kill Bill Volume 2. There's a piece of music that's not on the soundtrack towards the end of the film where she has done the Pai Mei 5-point exploding palm thing or whatever the hell it is, and he asks, "How do I look?" and she says, "Ready." And then there's this beautiful piece of music, must be some Italian
with the horns, those horns.
And it's not on the soundtrack, but it's a beautiful piece of music. I don't know what it's called. I've looked. I used to research it a while ago, and I stopped. But I just think that's a beautiful piece of music. And I don't. And sadly, it's not on the soundtrack.
No. But that's. And we should mention that one of the heirs to. We talk about Scorsese and Tarantino, but another one of the great heirs, not only in filmmaking wise, but in use of pop music, is P.T. Anderson. Yeah, of course, not with his last movie, and not with Punch Drunk Love either. Although there was a little bit of pop music in that, but with Boogie Nights and with Magnolia, he really, especially Boogie Nights, like some of those songs were, of course, they're of the age and they're a little bit disco, but they're sort of interwoven into the story very, very well and very, very seamlessly.
Right. So much so that and they're definite, if not homages, which could be a little limiting to say that it's an homage to this. It's just part of their DNA. It's how they conceive of movies because they grew up on the Scorseses, you know. But you know, if you think about the Sister Christian, the Night Ranger in Boogie Nights, if you think what was the '80s song playing when the '80s came around and William H. Macy ended the party with killing himself? What was that song?
Oh God,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I
like that, whatever it is, even though I can't remember it.
Yeah, well, the Sister Christian thing is a good point. Because that scene is, you know, I mean, that's one of the most intense scenes in the last, 15 years in movies. And if you were making that movie, would that be, when we talk about lazy choices, is that the scene, is that the song that you would pick? I mean, that's not a tense song. It's like, it's like, I don't even know what the hell that song's about, if it's a love story or what. But that's not the song that you would immediately jump to score
that scene. Yeah, exactly.
Somehow he used that song. And the way he used it, and the way he had the Albert, what's his last name?
Molina, Alfred Molina.
Alfred Molina singing the song and sort of doing the piano and talking about his mixtape while that song is blaring. It works really, really well.
And the firecrackers.
Adds to the tension. And then it cuts into Jesse by Rick Springfield in that scene.
That's
also,
right.
Which is another one that would not be the first choice, but it works for that character.
That's something that's a very important point. A lot of times, and it happens with your choices as an actor too, a lot of times when you make counterpoint kind of choices, the effect is even more profound. Mm-hmm. And he knows how to do it, particularly in those scenes. Actually, Miss Movie in the chat room brought up the director I was going to bring up next, which was Cameron Crowe. If you think about someone that definitely devises his scripts around certain song choices, never more profoundly than in Almost Famous, of course. Cameron Crowe's the one. Even in the movie that doesn't work from him, the whatever that monstrosity with Susan Sarandon was. What was that called?
Elizabethtown?
Yes.
Did you think it was really a monstrosity, though?
I thought it was pretty borderline pretentious, embarrassing. But there's one just incredible scene where you feel like he is at most himself in that road trip where she makes the mixtape for him.
Oh, that's the money shot of the whole film.
Those are the moments I fell in love with the movie. Yeah.
And that's true with singles as well. I mean, he has this thing of when it comes to music, contemporary music, he's incredible. I don't put that past him. He's very good when it comes to that.
I do want to mention, we were talking earlier about when they use a single artist for a movie to sort of define that movie. I think Juno did it really well last year with the Moldy Peaches and also Timmy Dawson, who's a member of the Moldy Peaches. And that wasn't exclusively their music, but their music was predominant in the soundtrack of the movie, and they kept going back to it and sort of defined that Juno character.
You know who was originally signed on to direct Juno?
Who's that? Brad
Silberling, and he'll be on the show Wednesday. Thank you.
Wow, that's a great segue, Jamie. That's awesome.
I'm the king of segues, man. So yeah, and of course we've talked about it ad nauseum on the show. The Leonard Cohen and McCabe and Mrs. Miller. The chemistry of that film would be completely gone without the Cohen songs.
Mm-hmm, that's true.
Which of course were pre-existing pop songs. So I also think when I think about music, surprising musical choices, Don't Stop Believing in Monster, the Journey song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When they're making out in the back of the bar.
Right.
Yeah, and also the other Journey song when they're roller skating.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was a pretty good choice.
The best Spike Lee song cue, A Change Is Gonna Come from Malcolm X. Which actually Spike Lee said himself, that's the best music cue I've ever done. I always found that song incredibly moving anyway, but never more so in a film than that moment in Malcolm X. Because he knows he's about to die. I mean, he knows it in that film.
That is a great one, but I'm partial to some of the music in Summer of Sam also. Whether
yeah, that's great music there.
Who or ABBA, the Dancing Queen of all freaking songs for that scene, and somehow it works.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Who song, the big, wasn't it the Who song that they used?
Won't Get Fooled Again.
Yeah. The whole big montage, which in terms of musical montages, man, that's one for the books.
Yeah. Well, he did it again in He Got Game, actually, too, with not necessarily in the movie, but he used the Buffalo Springfield song that the Public Enemy, they sampled the Buffalo Springfield riff, and that song is forever linked with that movie in my mind also.
Right.
Well, He Got Game is a nice example of two kind of seemingly polar opposite musical styles.
Exactly.
With the Public Enemy music interspersed with the help me out. Who's the composer?
Aaron Copland.
Yeah, the All-Americana on the basketball field. Gorgeous. He is such a passionate filmmaker. I see such passion in like every frame of his movie, and there's an energy and a catharsis in his movies that it does it for me. So any other directors? Wes Anderson was brought up in the chat room.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting one for The Life Aquatic, all the David Bowie-inspired songs. This is a beautiful soundtrack, and also there's just so much. I don't know, he uses a lot of Indian music on the Darjeeling Limited and the Who and the Kinks, and it's just it's a really
all the British invasion music from Rushmore and Royal Tenenbaums is almost entirely British invasion artists, and
he's just incredible. I mean, he's actually really picked up where Cameron Crowe leaves off almost as far as that goes. I think he's done an incredible job.
Yeah. And actually, you talk about Indian music, and I think of Oliver Stone and his Natural Born Killer. Well, he obviously has a thing for Indian themes anyway. But, the chant in Natural Born Killers with the prison riot, which that artist completely disagreed with using it for that movie.
Right.
Because he's an artist of peace, and it's in a pretty chaotic, violent scene in that movie.
Yeah, well, that was just one more cherry on top in terms of controversy for Natural Born Killers. I think that was the least of Stone's worries with that movie. But I do think, actually, Stone's an interesting one, too, because obviously he's made a lot of movies with some pop music choices, and some of them work really, really well, although I think some of his choices tend to, not that one, that's a good one, but some of them tend to be a little bit on the nose sometimes, too.
Right.
Okay, speaking of Cameron Crowe, as we were earlier, here is his choices for the top 10 music moments in film. Okay, you ready?
Yes, let's do it.
Number 10, Where Is My Mind from the Pixies and the Fight Club.
You just mentioned one of my favorite bands of all time, one of my favorite music cues of all time. And I love that book, and I love that movie, but when that ending is completely different from the ending in the book.
Yes,
and
it is.
With the use of that song, it worked incredibly well. Incredibly well. Oh, that's a great choice.
There's a choice, I can't pronounce it, from Talk to Her, Kakurikuku Paloma from Talk to Her.
That's a good choice. Anything that you would use from Almodovar is good.
Yeah, which actually people love his movies, too, in Cannes this year. Edge of Reality from Elvis Presley. That's like musical, though. I mean, it's Everybody's Talking from Midnight Cowboy. These are more like things written for a movie. I don't know if...
Right.
Yeah. And, of course, Jump Into the Fire from Goodfellas is on there, too. And
is it really? 6, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Number 5 is Tubular Bells from The Exorcist.
Of course.
Going Home from Mark Knopfler from Local Hero.
Okay. That's a good choice.
Falling Slowly from Once.
Definitely Once I think is going to be on a lot of people's lists.
The Rolling Stones, Royal Tenenbaums selection, She Smiled Sweetly and Ruby Tuesday.
Which they reversed.
Great choice.
Yeah, but that's an interesting scene because they made the conscious decision to put them backwards. I think She Smiles Sweetly and then Ruby Tuesday in the movie, which is actually reverse of the way that they appear on the album, which wouldn't make a difference except for they're sitting and listening to the album. So it's an interesting idea.
Right.
An interesting moment where they probably tried it, Ruby Tuesday, and then She Smiles Sweetly, and it didn't work. So they had to reverse it for some reason. So that's an interesting choice. And
Cat Stevens for Harold and Maude, which another artist-film association that works very well.
Yes.
Yes, it does.
You can't not bring that up. There's actually another director who's very good at his use of music, and it all goes into his singular talent.
I want to guess. I want to guess before you say it.
Creating mood and atmosphere. Who am I guessing?
May I guess?
Yes.
David Lynch.
No. No, very close. I was about to say Lynch, but actually I'm talking about Michael Mann. Because if you...
Okay. That would have been my second choice.
Yeah, and sure, early in his career he was a little too consumed with Tangerine Dream, but but if you look at something like Heat, this is another example of he's got maybe 30% original score, but most of it is from other sources.
Right.
Very versatile group of sources too. He has like Moby that closes the film. He has, I think, another Moby that's a Moby tune that covers the bank robbery, the centerpiece of the film. I believe that is amazing music that just all captures that mood. And when you're trying to capture something like L.A. and he shot at 85 different locations, and all these different flavors that this music creates, but it's all trance-like. The club scene in Collateral.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Oh my God, it's great. It's so
the
good.
use of the Audio Slave song "Like a Stone" in Collateral, also when the wolf appears in the roadway. That's an excellent. I never even liked that song till I saw that movie, and I thought it was used so well that I liked the song from then on out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also Lynch certainly. When you talk about atmosphere, I like his sound design in general because he knows that he's got incredible visuals outside of Inland Empire, and he can. His sound will do as much work for him as anything else will. If you look at a Fire Walk with Me, the sound design itself is just incredible.
Oh, that bar scene is one of the great uses of. I mean, there's no lyrics. There's just that like driving blues sound in that scene. So loud that they had to put subtitles on the characters because he was not willing to turn the music down so you could hear what the characters are saying because the music works so damn well. Yeah, very impressive. There's also let's see, he put some more choices here. Cameron Crowe did. Didn't I Blow Your Mind This Time from the Delphonics and Jackie Brown.
That's a great tune.
Yeah,
and that song in that movie turns out to be kind of a plot point too, because the Robert Forster character goes looking for the tape, and then he's listening to it over and over again, and the music keeps coming up.
But that's the great thing about like Cameron Crowe, but also about Tarantino, is he mentions these bands, he mentions it in the movie, and you're so curious that you want to go out and actually seek out the music beyond the soundtrack.
Yeah. Well, Reservoir Dogs is a prime example of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not only all the music cues in the movie are tied together by, Kay Billy's Super Sounds of the 70s, Stephen Wright DJ character. It's not just songs that work for the movie. This is the station that all these characters have been listening to, and we know that. We heard them talking about it at the beginning of the movie. Yeah. This is what they're all listening to, whether they're in there listening to it at that moment, or whether it's Chris Penn driving around in his car listening to it. You know that they're all listening to these same songs at the same moment. Chris Penn was probably listening to Stuck in the Middle with You while he was driving over there at the same time that Mr. Blonde was cutting off Marvin Nash's ears.
Yeah. There's an interconnectivity. We're talking about counterpoint, and I think this is a good place to close off this conversation. Probably the greatest example of a song working in counterpoint to the scene itself is Clockwork Orange, Singing in the Rain.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
I knew it.
I mean, is there a better example?
No.
Really?
No.
No, really, there is not.
You can think of other examples, but I'd be hard-pressed to mention one that was better. I don't think there is.
I can't think of a better way to end it,
And it's the happiest song ever written. It expresses such an unadulterated joy for life, and he's using it for a brutal rape scene.
Yeah.
And it is that much more chilling because he uses that song.
Yes, it is.